Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation by Leslie Perlis, showing how she creates a maquette for her dimensional mosaic process. I'm Randy Wardell, the publisher at Wardell Publications. I asked Leslie to create a brand new maquette for this video, to show every step along the way. Leslie starts with an idea, in this case a cityscape. Then she takes inspiration by viewing an assortment of images, such as these historic European buildings. And she even used her own home for inspiration, shown in these last two images. Well, that's enough from me. Let's find out from Leslie what she does after she has completed her research.
First, I do a rough sketch of what I might want and fill in as many details as I can think of at the moment. I put a piece of tracing paper over my original design and tape it down. This way I can copy the parts of the design that I like and eliminate the ones that I don't want. Then I put a piece of paper underneath to see how I like it. Now I'm going to do a cleaned up version of one of the segments of my project using a parallel rule so that all the lines will be square and straight. I can correct any mistakes with my electric eraser. It works really good. Now I'm going to make a drawing of the other segment of my piece. I've decided to make a preliminary 3D maquette of my design so I can see if I like how it came out. I'm going to do this by copying my design onto a piece of cardstock in my copier. I will do this for the other section as well. I will now use either a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife to cut out my design. Being careful not to cut my fingers in the process. Here's one side. After I have both sections cut out, I need to cut some slots in there so that I can make the piece stand up on its own. I take half the distance between the shortest edge and mark it, and do the same on the taller piece. I'm going to cut this one out on the bottom, and then on this one I'm going to cut this top half. That way they can slide together and stand up on their own. I'm going to make it more than just one little slice so that it's not too tight when it gets put together. And then do the same with this one. This way I can piece it together and it'll stand up on its own. Then I can get a good idea of what it's going to look like. You can see through to this side through the windows there. I will do some quick sketching on the maquette just to get an idea of some shapes that I might put on there. And then I can see the relationship between what the different sides might look like. This is just like quick doodling. Sometimes I make a little mini maquette so that I can color it in and it doesn't take too much time. And then I can get an idea of what the colors look like when you see them looking from one side to the next. Next, I will take some tracing paper and tape it down over my original design so that I can draw in the details in a more precise way. Next, I flip over the design and do the details on the back side of that particular section. Next, I transfer the design to the other segment of my project. You can either do it freehand and by measuring, or you can put your maquette with the scribbled design on there and trace over it. along with the combination of measuring, so that make sure everything's straight and your spaces are evenly spaced apart. Next, I transfer the details to the final segment of my design. If you don't have any tracing paper, you can use a light box to transfer your design. But if you don't have a light table, well, everyone has a window, and you can use that. Tape your design onto the window, tape a piece of paper over it, and just start tracing the lines. And it works great. Load some cardstock into your copier. Place your design inside and copy the design right onto the cardstock. The thickness of the paper will allow your maquette to stand up on its own. In order to glue the two segments together, I would recommend using a light table, or you can use the window technique. Take your front side of one side of the design and put it down and smear it with rubber cement. Then take the other side and lay it over it and line it up. You can see the bottom design through the top because the light's shining through. You can refine your design as you go along, each step of the way. When you find something new you want to add, just draw it into your design. This will make things more interesting. And you can always change your mind about something also. The next step is to color in the design. I like to use these Tombow pens because they have a brush at one end and a point at the other. When coloring in your design, you can look at your little mini maquette and see where you want to place the colors. You can always change something later on if you don't like it. Flip this section over and continue to color in the other side of the design. Now it's time to cut out your design. I use an X-Acto knife for the straight parts and a scissors for the curved parts. You can do it however feels more comfortable. So here's the first segment. Got the design on both sides. I still need to cut out these window sections. If later on you want to add some different details or cover something up that you don't like, simply draw it out on a piece of paper, cut it out, put some glue on it, and glue it right in place wherever you like. Now I'm coloring in the other side of the design, using my little mini maquette as a guide. Now I will finish cutting this side out with my X-Acto blade. Now I'm going to cut the slots in each of these sections so that I can put them together and have them stand up. I'm going to measure the shorter side, which is 3 inches. And I'm going to mark it halfway, which would be 1.5 inches. And I'm going to do the same on this section here. On the shorter section, I'm going to cut the top part of the slot. And I'm going to make it not just one cut, I'm going to make it like 2 really close cuts together so that the paper can slide in. In the taller section, I'm going to cut from the bottom up and do the same thing. Now, you can just simply slide them together. It'll stand up on its own. Here's the final maquette.